Carving a comfort bird. But first, a heads up that after the intro, there is a 1-minute channel update, and then we jump in. Let's spin this up and get to it. Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Hunter. About a year ago, I uploaded a video on YouTube with the intention of setting it up as a private video and sending a link for it to my relatives to share a project that I'd been working on. In the process of uploading that video, I changed the setting to make it available to the public. The video now has over 14,000 views, and I received mostly positive comments about it. I realized that I enjoyed sharing my projects with all that would choose to check them out. I recently purchased a new camera. As well, I took on a new editing software and I'm learning about how to put things together. There's still a lot more for me to learn about creating great carving content on YouTube. I would appreciate it if you would take a second to subscribe and use the comment section to give me feedback on the project and the quality of the video. I'll do my best to improve as I go along. So with all of that being said, let's talk about what I have ready for you today. As seen in the intro to this video, I'll show you how to turn a 2x2x5 block of basswood into a comfort bird. What's a comfort bird? Well, other than it's a really good project for wood carvers at any skill level, my definition of a comfort bird is a hand-carved, simplistic bird shape that you can give to someone that is going through a tough time in their life. It is said that holding the comfort bird and rubbing its smooth shape can bring comfort to those that are stressed or anxious. Let me know if you've ever heard of a comfort bird or if you have either had one or know someone that has benefited from one. Okay, now let's get carving. Let me show you where I got the pattern for the comfort bird we're going to carve today. We'll go ahead and jump on Google, type in comfort bird wood carving pattern. And I have here the second one there. It's on Pinterest. Click on visit. And you will have to have an account there, but it's free. And then we'll download image. And click on it up there. And you can go ahead and save it wherever you keep your patterns. And then once you have it saved, we'll go ahead and open it with paint. And we'll have to resize it to make it fit the size of bird we want to make. As is, it's about 7 inches long. And we want to bring it down to 5. So we're going to go to page setup in print or in paint. And I just like to center it on the page. You don't have to. And then we'll adjust the size to 155%. And we'll close that, hit OK. And we'll open up the print preview. That looks about right. We'll go ahead and hit print, cut them out, and there you go. Okay, once you have your pattern cut out and are ready to go, we need a piece of basswood. And this one is 5 inches, and it's supposed to be a 2x2, but it actually is like 2 1/8 by 1 7/8. And the 1 7/8 side, the narrower side, works out okay for the side profile, but it just barely fits there. It's about perfect. You wouldn't want to go any smaller than that. I believe this was like in a box of extra pieces or random pieces that I bought from Les Hills Sawmill.com. They have really good basswood, and I believe that I ordered some specific dimensions, and then I ordered a box of what they called random pieces or extras or something like that. But anyway, it's really nice basswood, nice grain, smooth in it. So we go ahead and just lay our patterns on there. And we line them up to one end. And we'll just trace around it. And then once you have the top traced on, the top profile, I'm going to do the side as mentioned, and we'll just go ahead. I just traced around that, and once we are done with that, the next step will be to head to the bandsaw. And just a quick note, if you don't have a bandsaw, you can use a coping saw or even a pull saw and kind of cut off some of the major pieces. And if you got the time and the patience, you can just use a knife and just start bringing it down. So you don't have to have a bandsaw, but it makes it a little nicer. Okay, now we're going to take our block of basswood that we have our pattern on over here to the bandsaw, and we're gonna cut out the shape. A little trick I learned from a Lynn Doty video a while back is I've seen people cut these out and then tape them back together to cut the other side. What he showed us was that if you just leave one spot where you don't cut clear through on each half, then you can just break them off later and shave that little piece off. And it's just a little faster. It eliminates a step of taping it together. So let's go ahead and cut this out. Those pieces stay right in place, and then I was able to turn it over and cut out this profile. I didn't do a very good job right here, but that's okay. It's all just it's a rough out. We can just cut that off with a knife, no problem. And then, so you just grab these and pop them right off. And that saved us the step of using tape to tape our pieces back together. And there we have it. We have our roughed out comfort bird to get us started on this project. We're ready to start shaping it. I have a couple of examples here of ones I've done in the past. This one a little bit smaller, but that's kind of what we're after. You can do it that way, or you can make them a little fatter, like they're fluffed up in the winter time or something. This one I just put some stain on it. This one is just oil and some wax, but it's a nice smooth one. Okay, well, let's get started. We'll use a Helvy rough out, and as I mentioned previously, this is a good beginner's project, and you hear people talk about cutting downhill or paying attention to the wood grain, and this is an excellent project for learning that. You can see the grain kind of runs this way, but so cutting downhill is basically following this down like that. What I've always done for that is not think about it too much. Just know that if you start cutting and it's going to tear a little bit, then just stop and go the other way. Just flip it around and do the other side. So let's get my thumb guard on and let's go after it here. We'll just start. You pretty much have the bird shape here. All we really have to do is just round over the edges and smooth it out. So let's go after it here. We'll take the Helvy rough out knife and just start going after the corners here. See, if I go this way, you'll know right away if you need to turn around. So as soon as I stick that knife in there, it wants to keep going deeper and deeper, and it's going to split a piece out. So all we got to do is turn the knife over, come back this way, and you get a nice clean cut. Just like that. I'm going to do this side, same thing. I'm going to go downhill. It's up to you how you want to look at it. You can go down, carve downhill, or just if you start going the wrong way, go the other way. That's what I do. That way I don't have to think. I don't like to think. It hurts. Okay, here we go. We'll start just kind of knocking the corners off generally. Just make it a little nicer to hold in the hand. Do some on the bottom here. Oh, see, that was the wrong way. Oh, we'll just go this way and we can clean that up with a nice smooth cut. But back here on the tail, don't want to be too aggressive. It's not very thick to start with. And just keep in mind, you don't have to, I think I've said this many times in my videos already, but you don't have to take great big chunks off. It's not a race. It's just about enjoying what you're doing. But we'll just continue to cut the corners. Cutting corners is good in wood carving. You get to smaller areas like this beak, don't want to take very much off, but we need to clean up the saw stuff here. Okay, as you can see, I've been working on rounding off the edges. There's a couple things I want to point out here. One I forgot to do, it's a good idea to mark a center line along the top and the bottom. And it just kind of, it's kind of easy if you don't do that. It's easy to get off and you'll end up with kind of a lopsided bird. You can see here over the top of the head, this side over here is come along farther than this one. So you just kind of carve a little bit and then you take a look. Oh yeah, you can see you need to take this side off some more, and then you go after that. There's a lot more material to remove on this. Like I said, I'm kind of going after this smaller bird, so we got to remove quite a bit yet, especially off of the sides. There's one more thing I wanted to show you here. And you coming into these spots where I talked earlier about carving downhill or carving in the right direction, you'll end up with these spots on here where you're coming down here and then from the tail here. And I'll just show you here. If you come down this way, right there at the bottom where it starts to come back up, the knife wants to dig in and split off. So then you got to come from this way. And then, now I got a pulled up piece of wood coming up this other way. You got to be, the best way I've found to handle that anyway is just real thin, light shavings and just kind of see which way you need to go right there where they meet. And this side needs to come back a little bit, just like this. And kind of roll your knife as you get through that spot. And it takes a little practice to do that, but then you can, okay, just moving right along here, getting a little bit farther. I still have, I'm leaving a little bit of the saw mark here just so I don't have to keep redrawing my center line. So one thing, I started doing this on the top of the tail. We need to thin the tail down towards the end. I took some off the top and now we need to take some off the bottom. And just make a nice push cut there with our knife. There we go. That'll need more later, but I just kind of wanted to bring that along with the rest of the bird so it's not all left to do at once. You can see how it tapers down nice there on the tail. Okay, and we'll just keep going. I think it's starting to get a little bit closer to bird in the hand size, but I think going a little smaller would be better. We'll just keep taking a little off the sides, and then when you do that, you can, if I hold this just right, you can see we took off here, and now we have this line. And you just go after the line to round it out. Going the wrong way, of course, because it split out a big piece there. So we'll just carefully bring that back down. Let's take a look. You just got to keep carving and looking, carving and looking. Is it carving or is it whittling? I don't know. I usually just say carving no matter what I'm doing. I looked it up one time in the dictionary. Well, not really a dictionary. It was online. But a lot of people seem to think that if you're using just a knife, it's whittling. If you're using gouges or other tools, then you're carving. I don't know. I think it's all kind of the same. I just always say carving. But if we have any purists out there think I'm just whittling, let's do this. There's a spot right here on the where the head meets the body. It's kind of a sharp corner from the saw. And then also up here under the beak. We'll reach out here, see what kind of gouge we grab. We grab a number 8. That should work pretty good. We'll just come in here on this thing of that. It's a nice way to transition that sharp edge into a nice curved spot. I'm rocking my gouge back and forth just to have a little more control. I don't want to just brute force push that through and then break a chunk off or stab it in my finger. I've done that before and it's not fun. So keep your tools sharp. This there is pretty sharp, but I just like to wiggle it through there. There. Now we can even take that down a little further, keeping in mind that we will use our knife and come back to it and get rid of those edges, and then we'll be left with a nice curved bottom there. For under the beak, I think 8 is a little too flat. We'll try a number 11 here first. And actually that number 11 is a little bigger than I want to do right now. We'll not this small number 11. We'll come in here and kind of do the same thing. Just a little wiggle push through there. These are, in case you're wondering, these are Drake gouges, hand or palm gouges. I really like them. Really fit in your hand nice. But let's just quit talking and keep carving or whittling. Carving, whittling, I don't know. See there, we kind of brought down the edges of that. We have a nice curved cut through there. Need to bring this down over here. Before we're all done, we'll definitely want to make sure we remove any of the wood with the saw marks on it. Clean that all up. And you can do as much or as little to this bird as you want. Like I said, the shape is pretty good just from the pattern and the bandsaw. Just clean it up around the edges and go as far as you want to go. But we're going to go a little smaller. Okay, just a little more progress. Thought I'd show you where we're at here, and I think we're getting pretty close to what I want to have. It's a little bigger than this one. It's smaller than the other one, and I think I don't want to go much smaller, but I'll just round things a little bit better and kind of clean it up. But a couple things I wanted to show you. On the side of the head, you know, this, when you cut it out, it's all just kind of one big rounded piece here. So I just make some curved little scooping cuts here like this, kind of narrow the head a little bit. Like all these areas, like where it's coming together in two different directions, and I mentioned before about shaving real fine. Basically what I mean is you just lay your knife flat. If it's laid flat, like completely down, you can slide it back and forth and it won't cut. So you just barely start tipping it up, and then You know, it's like the steeper the angle, the deeper it's going to cut. So when you want to just shave something real thin, just lay your knife down mostly flat till it just kind of catches, and then push it through like that. Also, on the, you can see on this one what I did is come over the top of the head, and then I kind of made a flat spot here. I don't know, just made it, to me it looks like it's the front of its head. I don't know, so I'm gonna do that again, and just again kind of scooping cuts. And if you're making a real tight curve, rather than just pushing in and forcing it through, that's kind of hard on your blade. You kind of start pushing it in, and then you pull at an angle, or you scoop and slice kind of at the same time, is what I do anyway. And it still catches once in a while. That's what that little chatter. I don't know if anybody noticed I switched knives. This is just another one of my heavy detail knives. I have 3 of them here, but the other one was starting to get a little dull, and I just have different ones here. I can just switch them out quick and keep going, and then I'll hit them, run them on the strop a little bit later. It's important, you gotta keep them sharp, and then they'll stay that way a long time. You don't really have to sharpen them if you just maintain them on a strop. I have the power strop I got from chipping away. It just speeds things up, but I used to just I didn't have that till recently, and all the years before I was just using a, well, it's right here. Let's have a leather piece of leather on both sides of this little piece of plywood, and that's what I kept my knives sharp with. There's some green compound on there now. Basically, you lay it pretty much flat and drag it backwards. And you just carve a few minutes, and take a break, and hit the strop. Just keeps a nice edge on there, keeps you going. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, we were making a bird. Okay, well, I took a few more minutes. I'm not going to tell you how many, and and I just kind of kept rounding and smoothing, and I'm happy with what I got here. I think we have the right shape. I have everything rounded. It's fairly symmetrical. Got the beak shaped the way I like it, and I'm going to go ahead and say that's done carving, and we're going to move on to sanding. I want it to be super smooth like this guy is. Just a nice feeling little bird. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to start out with some 120 grit sandpaper, and then I'm just going to jump to some 400. Basswood is pretty easy to sand, but it's also the 2 grits that I happen to have laying in the top of my sandpaper drawer. So that's what we're going to use. And I doubt that you guys want to watch me sand the whole thing, so I'm going to get started on that, and I'll come back when and give you a little update in a little bit. Alright, we're getting pretty close. We've got went over the whole thing quite a bit with 120, and I'm just going over it again with 400 grit. Not much to it, just sand and sand and sand. We'll work on this a little bit longer. There's a couple spots in here. And right there behind the head, and right there on the side of the tail. It's like a little bit deeper cut from the knife, and maybe one right on the top of the tail. One thing I have done in the past, we could do that here too, just to show you. Find those spots and just kind of feather it into the knife. It gives a little wider area. Still feel a little bit of a ridge right there. I'm just barely catching the wood with a knife. And then there was here too. We'll hit that one a little bit. Just to kind of flatten it out. Otherwise, I think it's looking pretty good. Oh, there's one right there. I can feel it. I can't really see it, but I can feel it right there on the tail. Again, just barely touch it. Barely touch it with the knife. That's one of those things that just kind of you'll learn over time that knife control, you get angle means a lot. I'm going to flatten that one out. See if there's any more. All right. I'm just going to hit those spots a little bit more with the 400. Again, in my opinion, everybody might feel differently about this, but in my opinion, a comfort bird, if the intent is to hold it and rub on it and kind of distract you from what might be going on in your life, I think having it smoother is better. Doesn't have to be. Okay, I have sanded it with 120. Okay, I just finished sanding this with 400 grit, and we smoothed out some dents, and I'm ready to put some oil on it. I'm going to use this circa 1850 Terra Nova Nature Oil. It does a good job of soaking in the wood. Takes a little bit longer than boiled linseed oil, but it works well, and it doesn't yellow over time. I kind of want this to be a natural color, natural looking wood with a nice heavy coat on there. And after this dries, the only thing that I'm going to put on there is I think it's called bees oil. I'll have to grab that and show you. I don't think there's such a thing as putting on too much of that. It will soak in, and that'll just give that much more protection. I mean, again, this is intended for somebody to have in their hand and be holding and rubbing on it all the time or whatever. So want to protect the wood from oils on their hand, or it's kind of a neat little spot there. Let's rub it right in. This is a non-toxic oil also. It says it's good for cutting boards and salad bowls and things like that, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, we're going to give that a few minutes to soak in. One final step here we're going to do is I'm going to use this bees oil. It's a mixture of beeswax and mineral oil, and it's food safe, all that other stuff. There's a website on here, hollandbowl.com. I don't remember where I ordered it from, but I use it on a lot of my carvings, even the painted ones or whatever. Once in a while I'll dust them off the shelf and rub a little of this on there, and they're good to go. So let's just put a little of that on there. This is it's little bit softer out towards the edges, but just get some on your finger and just start rubbing it on there. You just want to make sure you cover the whole thing. And once you get that rubbed in, it kind of, you'll feel it kind of change, and it doesn't really feel wet or anything anymore. It just feels soft and smooth. And I might rub this in a little bit more and then put one more coat of it on there just to make sure it's all covered really nice. But there you have it. That's my take on a comfort bird. And go out and make yourself one and hand them out like candy, I guess. All right, thanks.